Hello friends, welcome to Doubt Forum. Today we are going to take another question of physics. Let us read it out. A body initially at rest and sliding along a frictionless track from a height h just completes a vertical circle of diameter AB is equal to d. The height h is to be calculated in terms of diameter d. So we have four options here. So let us quickly draw the diagram. Body is here. This is a frictionless track and this is a circular track at the end. We call this point, the downmost point, as A, and the uppermost point is given as B, and the diameter is given as d. So the body was initially at rest, mass is m, or whatever be the mass. Mass is not given, so we assume it to be m. Height, initial height is given, which is h. Initially it was rest, then it would slide down along the track. The track is frictionless, then it reaches at point A, and after A, the track becomes curved and it is in a circular shape. So then it starts moving along the circle and it just completes the circle, and then we don't know where it goes, it may go anywhere. So when it is at point B, which is the highest point, we have to calculate the d. Not d, we have to calculate h, initial height in terms of final height or final diameter. If you want to solve this question, it will take only 2-3 minutes. You have to use few concepts: law of conservation of mechanical energy, centripetal force, and that way you can simply make 1 or 2 equations and you can find it out. But here in Doubt Forum, we don't want just to solve the question. We want to enable you to solve questions of similar nature in future. So we would delve deeper into the subject, into the concept. So let us learn the concept involved in this question. Law of conservation of energy. We always start from here. Number 2, law of conservation of mechanical energy. Also, we would learn the significance of frictionless track. In the question it is given, the track is frictionless. Then we would learn a little bit about circular motion. Before solving the question, we would understand the nature of circular motion, various forces, particularly the centripetal force, which acts in a circular motion. And then we will see some circular trajectories for a string, for a mass tied to a string, or for a mass moving along a circular track. There is a description in this video and you can find a link there. That link would lead you to another video in which we have given a detailed description and we have discussed in detail the law of conservation of energy, law of conservation of mechanical energy, and the significance of frictionless track. But still, again, here quickly I would mention or discuss what law of conservation of energy is. Law of conservation of energy says the total energy of a system is conserved, is constant. Energy can neither be, total energy of an isolated system is conserved or constant. In other words, it says energy can neither be created nor destroyed. It can only change form from one to other. Smaller, when we narrow down the law of conservation of energy, it becomes law of conservation of mechanical energy. If certain conditions are there, then we can say not just energy, but mechanical energy is also conserved. What is the condition? The condition is the forces acting on the system should be conservative. So this law says when only conservative forces are acting on a system, the total mechanical energy of the system is constant at different point. And we know mechanical energy is nothing but sum of kinetic energy and sum of potential energy. Kinetic energy and potential energy. Kinetic energy is the energy by virtue of motion of a body, and it can be calculated by the formula half multiplied by mass times square of velocity. Potential energy is the energy in a body by virtue of its particular configuration or position, and the most common formula for gravitational potential energy is mass times acceleration due to gravity times height from the surface of Earth. Here they say frictionless track, so let us understand the significance. This is a mass, it is moving, so let us consider this a small ball or mass to be a system. Now, what forces are acting on it? The forces that are acting on it are gravitational forces, and when it would be moving along the track, friction would not be acting because it is a frictionless track. Friction is not a conservative force. So if it was not a frictionless track, friction would have been acting, which is a non-conservative force. Therefore, mechanical energy would not have been conserved or constant. That is why they have said in the question, it is frictionless track. So we can say only gravitational force is acting on the body when it is moving down. And in the influence of gravitational force, which is conservative force, we would say that the total mechanical energy of this ball would be constant at different points, be it this point or A or B. Third, we would understand circular motion. Circular motion, when a body moves along the circumference of a circle, this is a body and this is its path. So this would be a circular motion. One prime requirement is there. No body can move in a circular motion unless there is a force acting towards the center of that circular path. If there is no force on a body, we know the body would either stay at rest or continue to move at a constant velocity in a straight line. Why this would happen? This would happen because of inertia. But if you want that a body moves in a circular path, there has to be a force towards the center of the circular path, and that force would provide the centripetal force. Centripetal force is the prime requirement for any object to move in a circular path. Now, the formula for centripetal force is mv square upon r. M is the mass of the object which is moving in the circular path. V is the tangential velocity of the object. So, this object is moving at a velocity of v. So, this is tangential velocity. R is the radius of the circular path. So this much force should be there. If mv square upon force is acting towards the center, then the body of mass m can move with a tangential velocity of v in a circular path of radius r. If you want this, see, if r becomes large, what will happen? The centripetal force becomes small. So if we want the body to move in a bigger circle, we would require less centripetal force. If we want the body to move in a smaller circle, same body and with same velocity, if we want it to move in a smaller circle, then we need more centripetal force. A smaller circle means small r means this value would become higher. Now this tangential velocity is always perpendicular to the centripetal force. So when the body reaches here, because in circular path the position of the body would be different, its velocity would be like this, again tangential. When it reaches here, its velocity would be in this direction. So you can see at every point, at every fraction of second, the velocity of the object would change, not the magnitude. Magnitude would still be the v. Magnitude is v. We are assuming that it is moving at a constant speed. So magnitude can be v, but its direction is changing, and we know velocity is a vector quantity. So even if only direction changes, we would say velocity has changed. So in a circular motion, the velocity of the object changes at every point of the circle. And centripetal force is always directed towards the center, but its direction would also change. When the body is here, centripetal force would be acting like this. When the body is here, centripetal force would be acting like this. So direction of velocity and centripetal force always keeps changing. But these two are always perpendicular, 90 degree. And what would be the effect? We know displacement is always in the direction of velocity. So if velocity is like this, displacement would be also in the same direction. Force, centripetal force is towards the center. So angle is 90 degree. So how much would be the work done? We know work done by a force is F D cos theta, and cos 90 is 0. So when the force is acting perpendicular to the displacement, the work done by this force is always 0. So work done by centripetal force on any object when it is moving in a circular path is 0. But still this force is always required. Next, where does this centripetal force comes from? So let us see where it comes from. When the mass is attached to a string, we all have experienced it. We hold a string in our hand with a stone on the other end, and then we rotate it in a circular path. So we can feel the stress on the string. So it moves like this. So when the object is at the downmost point, what happens? There is a force, gravity, mg, is acting on the object downwards. So we need a centripetal force. So there would be another force, tension. The string would be in a state of tension. Tension would be acting towards the center. Now, because the object is moving in a circular path, so there has to be a net force towards the center. So this T should be more than mg, so that the net force is towards the center. So at this case, in this stage, tension would be more than the weight of the object. Tension in the string would be more than weight of the object, because of which there would be a net force of T minus mg towards the center, and this will act as a centripetal force, and the body would continue to rotate. When the object is here, weight would be acting like this, mg, and tension would be acting like this. Both these forces are perpendicular, so mg would not affect tension. So tension would be there and mg would be there. Tension can take any value. When the object is at the highest point, what happens? Mg is there, and tension in the string is also in the same direction. So what happened? So there are two things. Force. So what happens when the object goes up? The centripetal force is more, weight plus tension T, assuming that the same tension is still existing as there was when the object was at the lowermost position. So T plus mg. So if there is more centripetal force, velocity would become more. So we know centripetal force is directly proportional to v square and inversely proportional to radius. So when the object is at the highest point, it would move with maximum velocity, considering the string is having common or same tension throughout. And when the object is at the lowest point, the velocity would be highest. Velocity would be highest here, velocity would be lowest here, because net force is T minus mg, which would be a very small value. So this is the case of circular motion. Suppose an object is moving in a circular track. So when it is here, in the case of a string, it was freely hanging, so only weight was acting and tension of the string was acting. In this case, it is not tied to any object, it is simply moving along the circular track. It is a vertical circular track. So at the lowermost point weight would be acting, mg, and also because there is a contact between the track surface and the ball, so any surface would apply a force which is called normal force or reaction force, N. So what would be the centripetal force? Centripetal force is always towards the center. So in this case, N should be more than mg. So the centripetal force would be N minus mg, because the object is moving along the circular track. For any object to move in a circular path, a net centripetal force directed towards the center has to be there. So if N was equal to mg, there would be no net force. Therefore, N has to be more than mg. So N minus mg would be the centripetal force. When the object is at the highest point, what happens? Again, downwards mg would be acting, and also normal would be acting in the downwards direction only, because the surface normal always acts perpendicular to the contact surface of contact. So this, at this point it would be, so centripetal force here would be N plus mg. In the question it is said that the object just completes the circle. Just completes the circle. So let us discuss a little bit more about the word just. Go back to the string situation. When we are moving the object with the string, we feel here there is tension and there is weight, mg. At the highest point, there would be tension in the string and there would be mg. Now, if you are experienced of moving a stone with a string, you would feel it is up to you. You can adjust the tension. So just, if the object just completes the circle, if we say that this stone just completes the circle, it means there is no tension in the string. The word just has this significance that there is no tension in the string. The entire centripetal force required for this motion is given by weight of the object. So the string becomes just tension free. So this is the significance of just. Similarly, in this case, it says the object just completes the circle. It neither goes up nor that it goes down. It just completes this circle. It means the entire centripetal force required for this circular motion is provided by the weight alone, and the normal force would become zero. Normal would be zero. Only the weight is enough, just enough. It is just enough to provide the required centripetal force. That's it. Now we can solve the question. We have learned all the concepts related here. So let us quickly see the question again. It says, mass m slides along the frictionless track from a height h. Then it goes into a circular motion and it just reaches point B. Just reaches point B means there is no normal from point B. The weight of the object is providing the centripetal force required for this motion. Law of conservation of mechanical energy says the total mechanical energy would remain constant. Mechanical energy at this point would be equal to mechanical energy at this point. Why? Because there is no friction, only gravitational force is acting, and gravitational force is a conservative force. So simply we would say first equation is mechanical energy, we call it, suppose this is a start point, we call it S. Mechanical energy at point S would be equal to mechanical energy at point B, which is the last point. At point S, mechanical energy would be kinetic energy plus potential. Kinetic energy at point S plus potential energy at point S. Mechanical energy at point B is kinetic energy at point B plus potential energy at point B. Initially it was at rest at position S, so kinetic energy is 0. Potential energy or gravitational potential energy at point S would be mgh. H is the initial height given in the question. Kinetic energy at point B. So initially at rest, after reaching at point A, it would have maximum velocity. It would be having very high velocity because this is ground surface, so no potential energy is there. H is 0. Then again it would start going up, its velocity would go down, and at point B it will have smallest, not zero velocity. There would be some tangential velocity in this direction, but this would be less than that at A. And at point B, which is at a height D, because the diameter of the circle is D and this is ground surface, so height would be D. There would be some potential energy. So we don't know the velocity at point B, so let us assume the velocity at point B is V. So kinetic energy at point B would be half mv square. Potential energy at point B would be mgh. mg. Height of point B is D. D is the diameter of the circle. So we can say half mv square is equal to mgh minus mgd. This is our first equation. We have to find the relationship between h and d. This is in the question. So we need to eliminate v square. How can we eliminate v square? Very simple. Centripetal force. At point B, centripetal force would be mv square upon r, radius, and radius would be d by 2, diameter, half of diameter. That's it. And centripetal force is being provided. So I told you, when the object is at point B, there are two forces. One is the weight of the object, mg. Other should be normal from the surface of the track. But because the object just completes the circle, which means the weight is just sufficient to provide the centripetal force. So we can say n is 0, normal is 0 here. So mg would be the force. Weight of the object would be the force which is providing centripetal force, which is acting as centripetal force. So centripetal force would be mg, and this is mv square upon d by 2. So from here we can find out the value of mv square. Mv square is equal to mg d upon 2. Simple. Just put the value of this mv square here in equation 1 and you get the answer. Half, in place of mv square you write mg d by 2. mg d by 2. And here you can write mg h minus d. h minus d. mg cancels mg. d by 4 is equal to h minus d. So you can bring d here. So this becomes 5 by 4d is equal to h. So h is equal to 5 by 4d. This is the answer of the question. That's it. Thank you.